Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nonprofits. Tonight, we're going to talk about a new tool that Catholics can use to show their faith. And to explain it all to us is going to be my good friend, Cynthia McDonald.
Thank you, Kelly. And I will explain, as in right now, using words that come out of my mouth. What this? Tonight, we're diving into a fascinating and controversial story at the crossroads of money, faith, and politics. Chris, Gaelic pronunciation McMahon, a wealthy Catholic financial advisor, has launched a company called Aquinas Wealth Advisors. His mission? To help Catholics align their investments with church teachings using a tool that grades portfolios based on whether they support or oppose issues like abortion, pornography, or LGBTQ rights. McMahon says Catholics might be unknowingly funding the very causes their faith condemns. While critics argue his approach oversimplifies, that's not the word, but it oversimplifies or even weaponizes investing. Is this genuine faith based stewardship or another front in the culture wars with billions of dollars at stake? Who knows? But we're going to talk about it. And this story is from Religious News Service by Claire Giangrav on August 21st, 2025. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Cynthia. Now, flabbergasted, I'm pretty sure that I believe you have some of the same views of this that I do. That I don't really have a lot of problems with the idea of this. Is that true? That you feel the same way?
Yeah, I don't have an issue inherently with an organization making a tool to help people make more informed decisions in regards to what they're investing in. The same way I wouldn't want to invest in an organization that's anti-LGBTQ. I think that's an organization, and anyone has the right to have information about organizations that are pro-LGBTQ. And if they don't want to invest in those organizations, they have that right. I think my biggest concern with it is that the tool is going to end up being more than just a source of information, that they're going to leverage the information to have calls for action, or that some of the information may not actually accurately represent reality, which is where my concern would be. But the idea of a tool existing that does this, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't either. I know the boycott is a tool that's been used for centuries, and this just makes the idea of the boycott easier to put into practice. And in that respect, I really don't have a problem with it. But I know that we all three have different issues with the idea too. And Cynthia, I know one of yours is that you're afraid this is going to be weaponized more than we're weaponizing these issues already in our society. So, what do you want to fill me in on that?
Yeah, well, so first off, I want to come from the point of view that this particular tool seems to have like an illusion of moral purity. And we already know that there's going to be no investment portfolio that's perfectly pure. And global finances is very interconnected. And claiming Catholics can purify their portfolios may be more about marketing than morality. You know what I'm saying? But we live in the time that we live now, right? Wait, did I say that right? We live
We do.
in the time that we
Right.
are living in right now. That's
Hope
what
so.
I was trying to say. Okay. Yeah, I was missing a word, flabbergasted. So that was the issue that I was having with my sentence. See, because
I heard it
words
the
are
same
hard.
way. You're fine.
Hard.
Okay, appreciate it. I didn't know, but I appreciate you guys. But but my issue specifically with this is that I think that this approach actually positions investing in another battlefield that's ongoing. You know, we already know that there are pervasive laws against people who are in the LGBTQ community. We already have seen the dismantling of Roe v. Wade and how, as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, we had trigger laws in at least about, I want to say like 11 states.
In
I
my
believe it's
state,
like 11 states, yeah, roughly, that, either outright, banned abortion or it, made it very difficult to get one, right? And as we all know that, if you've been around watching on a nonprofit episode or two, we've talked about how there have been real world consequences that came from the overturning of Roe v. Wade to the point where people have lost their lives because of it. And I feel that this is basically just going to take a whole financial tool to help people, look pure in the eyes of Jesus, to actually turn it into something that could be more so harmful than a good thing. And I believe that it actually risks turning financial systems into tools of exclusion rather than inclusion. Because, like, here's the thing: LGBTQ people exist, queer people exist, women who have, or even what I want to expand it to, people who have uteruses exist, right? And we know that all these particular culture wars that we have experiencing have just been a way just to, to basically make laws to make life more miserable for people who happen not to be cis white men. And I feel like what they're doing, even though they're saying like, your investments is going to be a straight way for you to go to heaven, it's also going to be harmful to somebody else.
Yeah, one of my problems with it is I know that many Catholics have different values, just like everybody of any group. I mentioned earlier that I know a Catholic family who has a gay person came out with one of their children came out as gay, and they completely changed their ideas of inclusivity. That was a tough. See, words are hard, Cynthia. You're right.
I'm saying we have a hard time with words tonight.
Damn those words.
Damn
so and I wonder if this tool is going to say, well, we're going to put these people on this list for LGBTQ rights, or we're going to put these people on this list for their stance against for abortion, and that type of thing. So I wonder if that's going to be one of the things that's going to be available, so that Catholics aren't still not in or stopping. They're not. Excluding companies that they might still have share values with. See, words are hard. Damn it, Cynthia.
I feel like if I could add something to that as well, it's that this tool kind of saying this is the stance of Catholics is trying to homogenize Catholics in a way that Catholics aren't necessarily homogenized. And it's not being done necessarily even from like Catholic doctrine. It's an epidemic, y'all, from Catholic doctrine, right? But from this individual's perspective of what Catholic doctrine should be. And so we're not even getting an accurate representation of, it seems, the Catholic positions, but this guy's perspectives of Catholic positions. And right. If other Catholics disagree, which I think it's important to note, they absolutely do. And there's actual Catholics and Catholic organizations that are being like, I'm not so sure about this. That raises red flags as well.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I worry about too is that maybe some of this list isn't so much get basically right along with you, in line with you, that it's not so much a Catholic list as it is a conservative list. So that we're upholding conservative values and not really Catholic values. And I do understand that there's a big, common ground there in the Venn diagram between Catholic and conservative. So, but I do wonder if it doesn't kind of like tilt the boycott process a little more into the conservative vein instead of the Catholic one. Is that something that you worry about, Cynthia?
Yeah, I do. I because like as you both aptly put out, even though we're all having a hard time with words this evening, that this seems to be more so of a thing that this guy has come up with, who is more conservative, and he's actually in my opinion using the excuse of being a Catholic to say that this is something that we should do, right? And I don't particularly like that, because as Flabbergasted pointed out, that Catholics have difference of opinion when it comes to some of the things that they actually feel that are value and of important, and like even within religion, even within the Christian faith itself, there is no such thing as homogeny. there are difference of opinion and about from the way that you're supposed to worship, whether if you're supposed to speak tongues in church or whether you're supposed to transfigure the wine versus just keeping it as a symbol, right?
Right.
That's why we have over 45,000 different cults and religious organizations within Christianity alone. And I know that Catholics, depending on whether if you are at one Catholic church versus the one down the street, are going to have difference of opinions as well. So, I mean, I personally wish that this guy would have just been like, this is my conservative tool for those who want to be as conservative as possible with your investments versus turning into like some type of, like this is for the Catholics, strictly for the Catholics. Shout out to the Vatican, I mean, I'm just saying, like, so my whole thing is like, okay, is this tool going to support or not support the White Sox? Because the Catholic Pope is a White Sox fan. So what are you going to do about that? Just saying.
Is the Vatican going to put their seal of approval on this stamp? And if so, then maybe they can call it Catholic.
Cynthia, if the White Sox win the World Series next year, I might rethink my whole idea of Catholicism. And honestly, while you were talking, I was thinking about how we've all become tongue-tied, and I was wondering if that was just the Pope pissing on us.
See, if the White Sox win the World Series, I'd be more concerned about if the Vatican is funding the White Sox. Like, how many players did the Vatican buy for the White Sox? I think money might be a bigger problem there than actual like God,
That'd be actually, I would love it if the Vatican freaking funded the White Sox because they could get a really good team.
Someone could finally beat the Yankees.
Yeah,
someone could outfund the Yankees.
Right. It would between the Vatican and the Divine Edict of God. More like the Vatican, but yeah, I get you. Guys, I just really just wish that this guy, instead of trying to put like values into it, would use more like evidence-based outcomes to inform investing rather than a culture war stigma, right? Like, because like here's the thing, if you're going to steer a whole bunch of folk who are Catholic away from certain investments, who's to say that where you're going to send them to is going to actually pay out the proper dividend that you want in the end?
Yes.
Right?
So much that.
I mean, like, if I'm going to a financial advisor, right, the first thing I'm going to go to them and say, okay, this is my liabilities, these are my assets. I'm trying to actually increase my assets, and I'm trying to get and I'm trying to shrink my liabilities so that I can have a bigger bottom line. So I need investments that I can put my assets in that's going to grow instead of shrink. And then they said, well, based on the data that they have collected watching said investments, you should do blah, 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 right? Instead of saying, well, I've sprinkled holy water on a thing, and then I was watching, something culture warly, that's not even a word, culture worry. Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think that's a word either. Words are hard.
Not, but it is tonight. How about that? How about them apples, Kelly? But
according to the Oxford Cynthia Dictionary.
There you go. The Merriam Dictionary according to Cynthia. There you go. But instead of actually like taking these particular things like moral values or what have you and using it to inform your investments, I just think that this is like a really bad idea, even for like your own bottom line. I mean, because like, there could be like some really good sex worker sites that's like doing like extremely well that can like make your portfolio go through the roof. They got the right equipment, they got the right model, whatever. They got it. You know what I'm saying? And they are pumping that bad boy out. You dig what I'm saying? And you want in on that, but you can't because Jesus. Damn. Ain't that a blip?
I think it's kind of funny that this guy basically says outright that this is not the financial approach that he took in his past. And so he's going to give advice to people on investments that he didn't follow. And it really makes me wonder if he actually cares about the success of the people listening to his advice, or if he's just like, I don't know, trying to hurt queer affirming organizations, which is probably much more the real issue.
Is he selling this? I don't remember if that came up in the story or not.
It did. He mentioned it. to be fair, I also read like 6 other things because I can't just read one thing. But it does state specifically that it is based off of the fact that he wishes like he had been more faith informed in his financial decisions in the past, and therefore he wants to give other people that tool that he wished he had.
But he never used faith informed to get where he was financially. Oh my God, what little hair I have left on my head is going to go like completely off my head. Because this is so, and that's the infuriating part. Like, and it's so hypocritical. This is exactly what you did not do in order for you to make the money that you got right now to put into this funky ass tool. Excuse my French.
It's the rules for thee, but not for me kind of concept. I can get rich by breaking all the rules by not following my faith, but you have to follow the faith and you have to invest this way if you're going to be a good person.
It's the typical ends justifies the means. You know, I broke the rules just so I could give you this thing that you can now follow the rules. So I did the right thing by breaking the rules. Yeah, it's pretty typical of religious thinking. Unfortunately.
This makes me mad though. Grinds my gears. I just wish. That's why, like I said, like that's why we like, because like I'm pretty sure that this dude McMahon, the Gaelic version, used evidence-based information to inform his investments in the past, and that's why he was so successful in the financial market. It had not a blim blam flim flam thing to do with his faith. He was not investing based on what wafer that he got that day when he went to go ahead and get the blood and the wine of the Lord at mass. That did not happen.
I think it's important to remember that he never makes the claim that you're going to get rich following this.
Oh my God, that part right there.
True to your faith. So
yeah, true, right. So I'm just gonna say, Catholic buyer beware, okay? Because you have there is nothing that's gonna back this up. It's kind of like faith. What do they say? Hebrews 11:1. The faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So you want to go ahead and put your stuff into a whole stuff that you're going to put your investments into something that's not evidence-based or, empirical evidence-based, but it's going to be based on your faith, not seen.
And cross your fingers and just hope for it. And it's just as believable, which is sadly why I think a lot of people are going to buy into it. And that's a concern.
Yeah.
But there was another thing about it too, that also I think is really funny because I'm a gamer. I play video games, and there was a website that was put out a while ago to talk about woke games and games with too much DEI in it. And
we talked about that on the nonprofits.
So they put out this huge website saying, "Oh, here's how to avoid all these woke and DEI games." And as a gamer, I know a lot of people who go to that list to find woke and DEI games. So people are using this in the opposite intention of the creators. So I kind of imagine this is going to end up being the case. People who are super pro LGBTQ are going to be like, "Oh, we don't have any lists that tell us what all the pro LGBTQ orgs are. Let's go see the one that all the Catholics hate and see, and maybe that'll give us an idea where we should put our money if we really want to support pro LGBTQ stuff." I think we're going to end up in a very similar situation to that. And I find that hilarious. So please make it, share it, let me see it.
You know what? That would be a great social experiment. Let's use the Catholic tool for investing and then just do the opposite of what he suggests as far as what to put your money in and just see if it grows.
I don't have that kind of money to waste though, do you?
Yeah,
can I borrow 10 grand for that project?
I'm just saying, for those who are listening and watching who have it like that, you do that and let us know. Contact us at nonprofits at atheist what is our email address? Yep, it's down there. Just switch it, producer person. Switch it, crew. Switch the thing that says email the ACA. Right, TV at atheist-community.org. Yes, do that. Let us know how it goes, and then we'll report about it in the next go round.
And most importantly, if you have that kind of money to run that test, all of us here would also love to participate in that. Send us 10 grand and we will follow along with you so we have more data sets, right? That's important.
I think so. That's a thing. So you can contact me at no, I'm just kidding.
I got a question for you both, and I'm kind of going to throw a wrench in the works here. There are tools just like this for liberal causes, environmentalism, LGBTQ rights. Man, I'm having a problem. Words are hard. I'm having a problem saying that in particular tonight. It's tying my tongue up. I think flabbergasted. You mentioned you're using a tool like that, and we're worried about this one doing conservative causes, right? That might not have to do with Catholicism. Do you ever worry about those programs taking up liberal causes that don't have to do with the thing that they were topicked for, like an environmental tool being used for other liberal causes? Is that something that you worry about? Like we're worrying about this with conservative causes? Yeah, I think I'm just going to throw a wrench in the works.
I think I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it for environmental causes, because that one is kind of like, as far as a thing, like the conservatives are like, oh, environmentalism is not a real thing. So they're not promoting that you act against it, right? I think pro LGBTQ related stuff is probably really important here. But I guess in that particular case, I just hold a degree of hope, not faith, but hope, evidentiary-based hope, on the fact that, like, a lot of the people they're going to spurn into action in these cases are going to do as much investigation for these tools as they do for all their other beliefs and views that they hold in the world, which is, and investments, right? They're gonna watch their Newsmax show, and they're gonna be like, okay, that's all the information I need. They're not gonna go out and Google and look for more. I think that is kind of a big difference as a generalization between conservatives and liberals in general, is that liberals tend to like dig into this a little bit more. If we actually care, we're going to dig into it. Conservatives have a tendency of being like, well, that's what, buddy on badnewschannel.com says, and I'm going to follow that. So I guess I just remain optimistic because of that.
I'll agree. I have that same perception as well. So talking about perceiving things, you can perceive a whole lot of awesome merchandise it goes this way, just like this, at tiny.cc tiny.cc/ACA merch. So go check it out. Get yourself one of these awesome nonprofits mugs, and we will see you later.